Hi everyone, it's Malaika here with Sarah.
Hiya!
In today's podcast, we're going to be discussing PED. Can you tell me what PED stands for, Sarah?
Sure. PED stands for the price elasticity of quantity demanded. So the PED measures the degree of responsiveness or sensitivity of quantity demanded to a change in price.
Can you explain the concept of price sensitivity to our audience, Sarah?
Yeah, sure. Well, the products that the consumer would deem as essential to their lives are price insensitive. This is because whatever the price is, the consumer will still pay for it as they believe they need it for their well-being. What would you say about non-essential and luxury goods?
Products that are considered luxuries and non-essentials are price sensitive because the consumer doesn't need the product to live, as it's not essential to their well-being. The consumer will buy this product depending on the price of the product and other factors that we will talk about later on.
So, the PED measures the degree of responsiveness or sensitivity of quantity demanded to a change in price.
To explain this more clearly, the PED measures how much the quantity demanded will increase or decrease due to a change in price for a product that is either price sensitive or price insensitive, and tell a business if they decided to increase or decrease the price of their product and if it would be elastic or inelastic. What do you think the difference between elastic and inelastic is, Sarah?
Well, when the quantity demanded is elastic, sellers would decrease their prices of the product, which would then increase their total sales revenue. This is because the increases in quantity demanded will compensate for the fall in price.
Oh, okay. What about if the product's inelastic?
Well, when the quantity demanded is inelastic, sellers would increase their prices of their products to increase their total sales revenue, because only a small proportion of all their customers would only be the ones to stop buying the products. But we're saying all this, but why is PED so important to businesses?
Well, Sarah, businesses will need to know how to work out the PED so that they can maximise their total revenues by making sure they're selling their products or services at the price which allows them to make the most profit due to what type of product they're selling. How would you work out the PED then, Sarah?
Well, to work out the PED, a business will need to use the formula percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in price, and this would equal the PED.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. Let's use a local hairdressing company called Image Hair. The company provides a service that can create a range of different hairstyles. The owner of the business is called Claire, and her next main objective is to increase the sales revenue of Image Hair. To attract more customers and to increase the quantity demanded of the services that Image Hair provides, Claire decides to decrease the price of most of her haircuts from £20 to £15, and this resulted in an increase in the number of haircuts each week from 200 to 250 haircuts. Using the formula percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in price, we would get the PED of 1.25.
Now let me break this down for you. The change in quantity demanded is 250 minus 200, which equals 50. To find the percentage change for quantity demanded, we divide the difference, which is 50, by the original quantity demanded, which was 200, and we times it by 100. This gives us the result of 25%. Next, we need to find the percentage change in price. So we know the difference in price is £3, as £15 minus £12 is £3. To find the percentage change, we would divide the difference of £3 over the original price of £15, and then we would times it by 100, which would give us 20%.
Now, to find the PED, we would then divide the percentage change in quantity demanded over the percentage change in price. So, what we would do is we would divide 25% by 20%, and this would give us the PED of 1.25.
This tells Claire that her product is elastic. This means if she decides to decrease the price of her haircuts, then the quantity demanded will increase in a greater proportion to the price. This means her total revenue will increase, and if she keeps her costs low, she will increase her total profit.
So, can you tell me what the formula for PED is?
Well, the PED equals percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in price.
That's right.
So what determines the PED value of a good? There are many factors that affect the PED value of a good. such as the amount of close substitutes and competition between firms. So let me ask you a question. What is a substitute good?
Well, substitute goods are two alternative goods that could be used for the same purpose.
Can you think of any examples of substitute goods, Sarah?
Yeah, sure. Well, for example, let's look at tea and coffee. They offer a very similar product, however, people have their own preferences and they choose between two. They have similar characteristics, they both have caffeine and they have a similar occasion for use and they are consumed in similar geographical areas.
Okay, another factor that affects PED is branding. So businesses with a loyal following will tend to be price inelastic. Why do you think this is?
Well, because consumers are more trusting in a brand who they have been using for a long time, or even a brand with more positive reviews, I guess that brands that are trending or in fashion are also price inelastic then?
Yes, definitely. For example, do you remember when fidget spinners were a thing?
Oh yes, I remember.
Well, that's an example of a product which, when it was trending, consumers were willing to pay lots of money for these toys, which served very little purpose to most people.
That is probably the most truthful thing I've heard all day. So that's an example of a price inelastic good, right?
Yes, it is, because the quantity demanded of fidget spinners wasn't affected by a change in price. Some businesses were even charging upwards of £10 for one fidget spinner.
Well, I see what I won't be doing with my time. Thank you very much for that, Malaika. Now we understand the factors that influence price elasticity.
So how do we use this information to answer a 10-marker question?
Well, here we go. Let's go back to our example we used earlier with the hairdressing company, Image Hair. We know that Claire's product is elastic because if she decides to decrease the price of her haircuts, then the quantity demanded will increase in a greater proportion to the price. And this will mean that her total revenue will increase if she keeps her costs low, and that will increase her total profits. Let's say there is a 10 marker. Let's use this question. Assess how a marketing campaign, such as a magazine, would impact the elasticity of quantity demanded for Image Hair. Let's just think about that for a minute. The question is asking us to assess how a marketing campaign, such as a magazine, would impact the elasticity of the quantity demanded. The question is about PED, right? So, firstly, what would you do at the beginning of an introduction for this question?
Well, personally, I would begin with a definition of PED and define the difference between elastic and inelastic and how this affects price sensitivity. For example, the price elasticity of quantity demanded is what measures the degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded to a change in price. I would then explain the differences between elastic and inelastic. A product is elastic if the quantity demanded of the product changes dramatically when its price increases or decreases. Whereas when a product is inelastic, the quantity demanded of the product does not change much at all when its price is increased or decreased.
Okay, so we know that the quantity demanded of Claire's hair salon is elastic. So I would also add some application and explain how her haircuts are price sensitive, which will increase quantity demand, and then when Claire decreases the price of her haircuts.
After explaining this, I would think of how a marketing campaign such as a magazine would impact the PED of Image Hair.
I have a factor you could bring up here. For example, how a magazine would increase the quantity of demand because more consumers know about the salon. So this would increase the chances of more people going, right?
What else could you talk about here, Sarah?
Well, I also think I would talk about how having a persuasive advert in a magazine would make the audience feel like they're missing out on an experience by not going to Image Hair. And by doing this, more customers would feel like they need to go to Image Hair, even in the long term if the prices were increased. Because the price has already been decreased, which could be included in the advert in the magazine, consumers will feel like they are getting a product that they need in their life at a better price. Bargain. Because the product is elastic, as a lot of people, want to go to Image Hair when the price was decreased, when they feel like having a haircut is more essential to their lives, that product will become more inelastic. Now, I explained how this would impact the PED for Image Hair. But how would you counter that?
Well, to counter this, Sarah, I'd say Even though Image Hair has spent money to put an advert out in a magazine, this would only reach selected niche customers who read that specific magazine. Although the customers reading the magazine may live too far away and it may cost more to travel to Image Hair, which would decrease the demand as less customers would use the salon services. Due to this, the PED would not be affected by the magazine campaign as it would not make a difference to the increase or decrease in quantity demanded.
That's pretty good. Well, what would I do for my conclusion then?
Well, for a conclusion, I would discuss how the PED of Image Hair would be affected overall in the long term and the short term. In the short term, spending money on the advert in the magazine would decrease total revenue, and that money could have been spent improving the overall quality of the business. However, on the other hand, in the long term, it could be worth investing in an advert in a magazine, as it will attract consumers that could potentially compensate for the costs spent on the marketing campaign.
And I guess that would also, increase their total revenue, and if they kept their costs low, increase their total profits.
Of course.
Well, thank you very much for that, Malaika. If any of you listening have any questions that you want us to answer, if you don't completely understand something that we've spoken about, please just feel free to leave it below in the comments and we'll get back to you and we'll give you our opinion and help you with anything you need.
Apart from that, that's all for this week's podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed and we will see you next week.